Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm back in the garage, and I haven't really done too much. Kind of been busy with work, so I figured I'd do a quick video talking about the vehicle and some of, I don't know, the problems I had to go through, and then go over like my coolant system, how I ran everything, and the thought process of what I was doing, whether it was right or wrong, I don't know. But so far it seems to work pretty well. When I was on the dyno, temperatures were great, and the secondary fan never came on. It tells me I should be pretty good for at least during the winter on these days hot lapping and whatnot. Anyhow, let me go ahead and turn the camera around. Okay, so first of all, let me just talk a little bit about cooling system and what we got going on here. This was an expansion tank that we kind of repurposed with the help of Jackson Performance, and created a connection for my rear mount radiator. Basically, the water comes in. We welded the flange on that goes to the block right there, and the flange is welded to this pipe. Water comes in here, comes out here. I have two different temperature sensors. One's for my Davis Craig water pump controller, and the other one is for the ECU. And then I basically have this, which if there's any air bubbles or anything here, this pipe, which I'll see goes all the way back to the expansion tank in the back, and then this is my water out. But yeah, so that is basically how I connected my water out, and it basically goes that way up the passenger side, and my water in is right there. And yeah, I know some people run them both up the same side. I don't know, I just felt like running one up the passenger, one up the driver's side, so that one goes all the way over there and goes back to the trunk. So now let's walk around to the back of the car. Couple trial and error things. One thing I do want to mention is this is just a dead cap. There's no spring in here. Initially, I had a one of those ones with a little lever on it so I could bleed it, but after doing research, apparently you want it to constantly bleed any air. So this is the highest point of the engine right now, at least in the front. So if there's any air, this is going to be constantly flowing water all the way back to my expansion tank in the back, which we are going to right now, right here. So the hose that you just saw there is right here. So this is what's a 1.3 bar radiator cap that came with the Mishimoto radiator that I have back here. And basically that water, and this isn't filled to the top, and you can't really see it, but it's not real, it's maybe filled, I don't know, about to about here ish. So this water constantly comes streaming from the front of the engine, hopefully burping any bubbles that are in the coolant system constantly. And then of course this is a regular radiator cap, so if it does open up, it's going to go to my overflow tank, which is right there. As for this connection actually goes underneath here back to the top of the radiator to try to get any air that's on in the radiator to also bleed out continually through here. So both of these continually kind of have water pouring into this expansion tank. And then let me see if I can't go down here, and you can see how the connections are there. So basically this is my water return. It's the water return from the front of the car, and then there's my Davis Craig pump right there, which goes to the connection that's on the front of the engine. It comes out of the bottom of the expansion tank and goes right into the radiator, and that's on the second pass side. Basically the water comes in here, flows across. You can see there's a kind of like a welded divider in that end tank. Basically water flows this way, comes down the bottom, flows back to the bottom, and then all that water that's in that expansion tank will basically flow in and get sucked in and circulate the system. So far it's been working pretty well, and it continually kind of burps itself Now, of course, I haven't taken it to a test day yet, which I should be at the December 20th event in Sebring. The, I think it's just like big skid pad event or whatever they called it. But, yeah, I'll run it through his paces and we'll see how it heats up and if it overheats. And I'm hoping not, because we should be good. I think I got it done right, but I've never done this before. And a lot of questions, a lot of research. Hopefully have yielded the results I'm looking for. And then here's my radiator setup. I made the shroud myself. Let me expand this a little bit. So I made that shroud myself. And I have two of the high-flowing Mishimoto fans. And then I have my fan relays over there. So that way I can get to them easy if I need to troubleshoot that. It makes my life pretty simple. I tried to put everything in a spot where I could troubleshoot it quickly and easily. But this fan is being controlled by the Davis Craig, I always get it, Craig Davis, whatever, Davis Craig controller. And the other fan is being controlled by the ECU. And I basically have the temperatures offset. So the first fan is going to come in like around 185-ish. And then this fan will kick in around 200 degrees. And so far, this fan has not come on yet. And I also have an oil temperature gauge. So at least not only am I getting water temperature, but I'm also getting oil temperature as well. So that should give me a rough estimate. And so far, so good. Like I said, it was on a dyno for a couple hours. And like I said, that one fan never came on. So we should be good there. Also, what I decided to do, and I think I talked about this in another video, I also decided to put some fans on the intercooler. So you can see them there. As best I can get in here with the bumper on. They're kind of down there. And that will, or should, allow me in the hotter days to flow some air across that intercooler. And my old cooler and my power steering cooler, at least get some air flowing across them when I'm sitting in the line. Hot lapping, hopefully hot lapping many times. So that's my coolant system. As far as a quick overview, the next thing I want to talk about is what was going on with this engine when I first got it, and some of the problems, well, some of the nail biting experiences I've had. When I first got this car, it was actually my brother's shell. And I had the E30. Those of you guys who have known me for a while know that I was really a big E30 guy. I'm just going to talk to you from inside the car because it's a little quieter. But I was a big E30 guy. And, I guess almost 10 years ago, 8 years ago or so, my brother, he just had his daughter. And he had this shell, and he was going to do an LS, so he had bought like a bunch of stuff for it. Foam block for the LS, and he had stripped the car down pretty far. He had purchased the front end that I have, minus the fenders, and had planned to do this conversion on it. So I basically took it over. He gave me the chassis, and then this is kind of where I guess things kind of went south, or, you know, I don't know, maybe reasons why it took so long. But when I had somebody that was going to buy my E30, I had a bunch of wheels. I had a bunch of, I had a bunch of rims. I had extra transmission. I had a whole bunch of stuff. You know, everything that extra engine for the E30. And I was basically going to sell everything. I think I had it sold for like almost like $8,000 or $9,000, right? Which it wasn't the cleanest car, but it was in pretty good shape for the most part. And you had the spare parts. And I was going to take that money and I was going to, and back, 8 years ago, doing a roll cage was probably like around $3,000, after piping and everything said and done. I could have done a cage myself. And then, do a 1JZ motor swap. I wanted the 1JZ non-VVTi. I don't know. I don't know in particular. I guess it sounds a little different. And, I don't know, just something about the 1J that, I always wanted the 1J, not the 2J, but whatever, doesn't matter. And my power goals were never 800,000, 900,000 horsepower. for what I'm looking for, and I'm right exactly where I want to be, which is just above 500 horsepower. So I think it's going to be the best choice, and I think it was the best choice for me. And it's the engine I want. I mean, are there other ways to go? Absolutely. But it's what I wanted. Anyhow, world famous Chris Jackson and I were talking, and he was like, don't sell the E30, don't sell the E30. And I get that, because it was me for a long time, and everybody knew me with the E30. I did a lot of competition, Pro-Am competition with the E30, and Chris known me since the beginning of my drifting. I don't want to say career, but my from my start of drifting till even now. And he was like, let me get the E30, and I'll do your roll cage, and I'll do some other stuff for you. So basically what the agreement was that I give him the E30, everything I had, spare rims, transmission, everything, basically everything I had for the E30, the car and everything is his. And in exchange, he was going to install the 8.8 diff in the rear, not the axles, but just get the diff mounted. He was going to do the roll cage, and he was going to purchase a 1JZ, which back then 1JZs were not $3,000, right? It was much cheaper back then. And so he sourced a 1J, and I already had the 8.8 rear end, and he got the 8.8 rear end in there, and just the cage took, just for instance, he had the car for about 6 years. During that time, I had turbocharged an E36, made it wide body. I'll attach a picture so you can see what it looked like. I didn't do any events on that one. I ended up getting rid of that, like everybody does, right? You build something, you get rid of it, and that was a mistake. I should have kept that E36, and then after E36, I got rid of that. I bought a 350Z. I did some events in a 350Z, and as true and as solid as the 350Z, and as formidable platform as that car is, I just don't like the car. It's like one of those things. It's on paper, it was checked all the boxes off, and it did everything I needed it to do. Gave me seat time, never gave me a problem, and was just super reliable. Had air conditioning. I mean, like I said, every box was checked off. It's just like, I don't know. It's like I was wearing somebody else's dirty underwear. I just didn't like being in that vehicle. Anyhow, and I had this car, and then once Chris had finally finished the cage, he then I sold my 350Z, and I got the car back. So now I basically had the engine installed, the transmission in there, but no transmission mount. So I had to make the transmission mount. I had to get the customer axles. I had to wire the whole car. And there were some parts of the roll cage that weren't finished, completely welded, which Bryce took care of. Some of the tops of the roll cage weren't welded all the way. So he took care of that for me. I still have to do the front intrusion bars because those weren't done. But I had to run all new brake lines. So that's my pedal set. I know it's a floor mount pedal set. The reason why I went with the floor mount pedal set was because the driver's seat is as far back as it could possibly go. And it's almost touching the roll cage. But anyhow, I got the car back from him, and had, like I said, had to wire it, had to do the exhaust, I had to mount the turbo, right, everything, do the piping, the intercooler, the front end, so I can mount the E92 front end on it. I also went ahead and did the E92 dash. Doesn't look too bad, right? Kind of looks like it's supposed to be here. So that's the E92 dash, E92 front end. So now here comes the part that was like, just like where your heart kind of drops for a minute. Once I got the transmission mount done, I got everything done. I got the turbo mounted and everything. And at that time I was Mega Squirt, had the Mega Squirt wired up, and I went to go start the engine. It wouldn't crank. And well, actually, let me rewind. Let me actually rewind, because I take that back. It did crank because what I had to go through. So basically, before I went to fire it up, I wanted to just spin the crank, right? To try to, get it to just rotate. I put oil in it and everything, and then I noticed that it would crank. I couldn't get it to budge. Well, I went to take spark plugs out, and come to find out that I guess when Jackson or somebody at the shop or whoever, somebody took a spark plug out in the number 6 cylinder. and they didn't put it back in. So that basically meant that that cylinder was open to the atmosphere for about 8 years. When I looked down in with the, I basically bought one of those, what do they call them? Scopes, the with that connects to your phone. So I got that, and the top of the piston looked horrible, and there was a lizard in there. It wasn't a live lizard. It was like an old dead lizard. So basically, here I am. All right, I'm gonna have to pull the whole engine out. So I started taking everything apart that I just all put back in there again. Now, mind you, you know, I don't have an endless budget. I don't have much of a budget. But I had some time, so I was taking it apart and I was gonna pull it out. And me just being super stubborn, I'm like, you know, there's got to be a way to get this thing to just turn over, right? You know, now I'm talking about it. I just think I can't believe how lucky I am that the engine runs. But anyways, so I'm trying to get it to crank. So what I did is I basically put some ATF in that cylinder, and and I took like a wooden dowel with some zip ties, and I kind of just shoved it in there, kind of try to mix all that up, you know, and just blend it all together, try to get that. And then I had like a small tube with a vacuum, a wet vac, trying to suck whatever is out of there out. Still, I could still see the head of the lizard in there. Anyhow, still couldn't get the budge. And so basically what I ended up doing is I removed all the spark plugs, and I was thinking, well, I'll just get a wooden dowel, and I'll just put a wooden dowel down each spark plug hole, and I'll tap them, right, to see if I can't just break that rust seal that's on that number 6 cylinder. So I kept doing it, tap, 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 tap. Finally, it actually moved a little bit. So then I put some more ATF down in there, and I just cranked it, and it was turning. Now, thankfully, that number 6 cylinder was almost at top dead center, so it was almost at the top of the stroke. So that's a good thing, right? If anything was good about that. So now fast forward to starting up the car with the Mega Squirt, fired right up. No, you know, a little bit of smoke at first because I had the ATF fluid out there, and was able to idle the car, got the car to the dyno on the Mega Squirt, had some issues, which I talked about in the last video. And now fast forward, 510 horsepower, or lizard power, whatever you want to call it. And so to tribute that, I basically got some little lizard stickers that are stuck randomly around the car. So if you ever see me and you see the car in an event, just look around. You'll see little tiny lizard stickers that are waving at you, placed throughout the car. That's the story that is like, I'm really surprised this engine runs. And hey, no smoke, good compression. It sounded really smooth. So I should be good. Oh, another thing. So when I had initially put this car together, I have the very first, I think before I even started selling Autosport Engineering, 1JZ to CD09 transmission adapter kit, which means that the instructions to shave down part of the bell housing was not even a thing yet. Now fast forward to when I started it up. When I started up, everything seemed fine. When I started pushing the clutch in, I'm hearing clack, 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 clack. I'm like, oh no, it's a bearing. Oh no, you know, I just got done with the whole lizard thing, right? So now it's clicking, clacking, clacking, clicking, and I'm just like, what is going on? Well, come to find out, I didn't drop the transmission. I just figured steel is stronger than aluminum, and it'll provide self-clearance, and sooner or later it'll just stop. Well, you know, yeah, it pretty much just stopped, so it doesn't rub anymore. Yeah, you know, I just don't feel like dropping the transmission. I just don't have it in me, and I know I am really just asking for trouble, but so far she's running smooth. I don't hear the clicking clacking on the transmission, and there's no more lizards in the engine. So that is a very brief summary of some of the things I had to go through. I'm sure you guys have been through worse. Probably made better decisions than I have, and but Lord willing, this car will hold together on December 20th at Sebring. And lizards and clearance issues aside, you know, I'm in a pretty good spot right now, and I'm pretty confident the car should be ready to rock. I'm sure there's going to be some things along the way I'm going to have to figure out. But yeah, so that's kind of a brief overview. I did do the E85 test at a gas station. I'm going to go ahead and get some E85 from another gas station, and I'm going to do a little video about that probably next week. But anyhow, hopefully you enjoyed the video, and you got a little insight to some of the things I've had to deal with this car, and make fun of me at some of the bad decisions I made. That's fine. I know they're bad decisions. I know there's a lot of things that I did that I shouldn't do, but hey, you know, what's the fun in that, right? Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys next time.